An ordinary shift for a police officer.
This case came in as just another burglary.
This is an offence we have seen quite a lot of.
Can quickly take an extraordinary turn.
It's gone from 0 to 100 in no time at all.
A routine case
Just thought we were picking up someone who's maybe just a bit drunk and disorderly.
can suddenly spiral into a serious incident.
I need to arrest you on suspicion of murder.
The more I dig, the more I find. How big was this case going to get?
He has started a fire, he's done it deliberately and used some kind of fuel to get that fire going.
Sometimes the most minor crimes
It's really important that we get hold of him as quickly as possible and get him off the street.
can crack major cases.
We did have an international manhunt on our hands. Gotcha.
Today on Big Little Crimes. Police investigating an anonymous phone call.
I know where you live, how to get in your house.
Uncover one man's horrifying campaign of harassment.
I'm still shocked now that there were so many victims.
But first, police searching for stolen goods are shocked to find more than they could ever have imagined.
I couldn't believe it. I've never seen anything like it. It's gone from there to being, this is massive.
Sergeant Paul Harrison runs a neighbourhood police task force in Chorley, Lancashire. It's the career he's always wanted.
No job is the same in policing. Every day is completely different, and that's what I love about it.
Working the streets as a neighbourhood police officer, Paul sees how small, everyday crimes can leave a big mark on the community.
And you see the impact that it has on people's lives, and you want to do whatever you can to help them.
It's September, and Paul is on shift at Chorley Police Station.
I came into an email from a member of the public who was pleading for my help. He told us that he'd sold his motorbike, and then the following day, after he'd sold it, the credit card company rang him and told him that unfortunately the card that was used to pay for the bike was a clone card, and therefore that they would be retrieving the money. So essentially, he'd lost his £6,000 motorbike and he'd got nothing in return for it.
Card cloning is when criminals steal data from a credit card and then copy it to make fraudulent purchases.
Using fraudulent cards and fraudulent payments and stuff is massively on the rise and has been. It's a really, really common occurrence. So I was quite intrigued by the email. I could see that he was quite desperate to try and go and recover this bike.
Paul takes the case on. It might be a relatively small crime, but he can tell what it means to the victim.
If we don't recover that bike, this person is £6,000 worse off. I offered our help and we discussed what we were going to do.
When the bike's owner comes in, it turns out he's already done some investigating of his own. He'd found the bike for sale online. Then he'd got his dad to feign interest in buying it and tracked the seller to a house in Manchester.
He had already made contact with the person selling this bike, and he'd got an address and had agreed to go and meet up with this chap. So because he'd agreed to meet up with him, for me, that was an opportunity.
It's a step closer to getting the bike back. But Paul spots a problem with their plan.
This individual selling the bike, we don't know who he is, and personally, I felt that that was a bit of a danger and a risk. I wasn't prepared to let him go on his own and look to try and recover this bike.
Paul decides to go along to pay the man selling the stolen bike a visit. He alerts Greater Manchester Police that he's coming to their patch and quickly assembles a team.
So I went with the father in his car, and I had two uniformed members of staff who arrived in a marked police car, and I had 2 other members of staff who were in plain clothes as well.
While the rest of the officers park up out of sight, Paul and the bike owner's dad wait to see if the seller turns up.
A lot of the time where people are selling stuff on the internet, they'll give an address and it won't be the correct address, or someone will just meet them outside. I didn't know what we were approaching, I didn't know what we were going to go into.
But Paul has a plan in place.
The tactics were, we would go and we would see what was happening. I would need the 2 officers to just keep observations on me as soon as we go into the address. We need to know, is that bike the stolen bike?
Playing the role of potential buyers, Paul and the victim's father will go into the seller's house. They agree a secret code to use if the bike is definitely the one that was stolen from his son.
So if this is definitely 100% the bike, you need to be telling me, and you need to say, we're having it. That will indicate to me that this is the bike and that I can then arrest the male for handling stolen goods.
They're almost ready to go in. But first, Paul needs a suitable disguise.
Obviously, I decided to go in plain clothes. It would look daft if a police officer just turns up in the car with him. At that point, I've looked in my gym bag. The only thing that I've got is a number 9 Liverpool Robbie Fowler shirt from 2007. So I'm thinking, right, okay, I'm gonna have to wear this. So I did, I put that on. Hindsight's a great thing. I'm going into the middle of Manchester with a Liverpool shirt on. So maybe if I was reviewing the matter again, I'd probably do that bit a little bit differently.
But it's too late to back out now. At the seller's house in Newton Heath, Manchester, a man has come out to meet them.
He comes round the corner and sees us. So at that point, we both get out of the car. I've got this Liverpool shirt on, and I'm thinking, what's he going to say here? So he goes, Liverpool, you like Liverpool? I said, yeah. He said, yeah, I do. So I was like, I was relieved, because I thought, flipping out, you know, I'm in the middle of Manchester and he's a Liverpool fan, this guy. And at that point, he just waves us over to go in.
Inside the house, Paul and the victim's father need to move quickly. The longer they're in there without police backup, the greater the risk.
I'd requested that after no more than 30 seconds of me going into the premise, that one of my colleagues would give me a call and I would relay to them a certain code word, and that then would indicate to them that they were needed to come into the address sooner rather than later.
The victim's father takes one look at the bike and is certain it's the same one stolen from his son.
He has a look at the bike and says, we're having it.
At that very moment, Paul's police colleague calls him.
So I answered it and I said, all right, love. And I said, I'll be home soon. We're having it.
The bike thief has no idea what's coming next.
So at that point, I have arrested this male for handling stolen goods, and it just come as a complete shock. He had no idea that obviously I was police.
And right on cue, the rest of the team arrive.
The actual card that was used to purchase that bike was a clone card. So we have authority to search for items in relation to that offence.
But as the search begins, something catches an officer's eye.
Initially, the offender was sat down on his couch. There were 2 keys next to him. That's when we noticed that one of the keys gone missing. And one of my officers asked him, where's the second key that you had with you? And at that point, he becomes a bit uncompliant and he's not cooperating with us. So straight away, we're like, well, where's that key gone? I don't know what he did with it, whether he swallowed it, I don't know. But all we knew is that there was a key missing.
The missing key is now the focus of the police search, and the man under suspicion is not reacting well.
There was a complete shift in his demeanour. He started to sweat profusely. I remember this. And the sweat is pumping off him. It was completely bizarre. I felt that there was something more going on. He is becoming more aggressive to the point where we have to restrain him.
For Paul, it's a huge red flag.
You could sense that he was really, really agitated, and gave me reason to believe that there was something that he didn't want us to find.
Then, Paul's team of officers make a discovery that will escalate this crime to a whole new level.
There was a black box, which was like a metal box. I'm thinking, right, what is it? What's in it? We can see it's padlocked. Putting two and two together, is the key that has vanished, is that to open the padlock?
The entire operation shifts gear. Paul needs to know what he's hiding. What started out as a little crime is about to get a whole lot bigger. For most of us, when the phone rings, it's no cause for alarm. But in our next case, it was a sound that became sinister and very, very frightening.
My name is Lucia Calandriello and I'm a crime investigator for Sussex Police. I take on an investigation from start to finish.
It's summer 2022 in Brighton, and police investigator Lucia is handed a case to work on. A woman whose partner works for the police has received a malicious phone call.
It was 4 o'clock in the morning. When she answered the call, there was a man on the end. He was saying her first name and he was making horrific threats.
The woman has no idea who the caller is or why she's been targeted. Then her partner also gets a call.
So they believed at that point that they may have been targeted because he worked for Sussex Police.
The calls have left the couple deeply distressed.
They were terrified. He had to take time off work. She was scared to take her child to nursery. She said that she even changed her shoes. She wore trainers in case she needed to run.
To try and hide his identity, the malicious caller used a withheld number. But that's not enough to stop Lucia from finding out who he is.
Even if it's withheld on the device, but it's not withheld on the network. And that was how we were able to identify the phone number that called her. So I put that into our Sussex Police system, and that brought up a name.
Now she has his name, Lucia checks it against police records.
The phone number came back as Amir Tahir, who was already on our police system, as he had a historic previous conviction for sexual offences in 2012.
The case is now much more worrying. And although there's enough evidence to arrest Tahir, investigators decide to check similar crime reports against his phone number. And that's when they make a shocking discovery.
I received an email from another colleague. At that time, there was another 13 potential victims.
It's clear this isn't just someone with a grudge against the police. It's much bigger than that. This is a man who is systematically targeting women.
I did feel that it had become a lot more serious because there were lots of other women that were being called.
More worrying still, the women don't seem to be picked at random. He knows exactly who they are.
He would call them by their first name. He would then go on to describe them or where they lived. He would say things personal to that victim.
No, I'm not going to stop calling you because I know where you live.
They wouldn't go home on their own. They were scared to answer their phone. Some had to move out of their addresses because they were scared to stay on their own. Yeah, it completely changed their lives.
With the scale of his offences escalating, it's time to bring Tahir in.
The officers came out and arrested him here at his home address, and his property was searched and a mobile phone and a laptop were seized. He denied any involvement in any of the phone calls. He said he couldn't understand why his number was being used to make these phone calls. He was then released on police bail.
But Lucia doesn't buy his denials. She has a hunch there could be even more victims. She takes another look and notices several women got calls on the 8th of July.
I looked at any incoming calls or any online reports that were made, and I identified some further reports. So then the victim number went up to 22 at that point.
This case is escalating fast. From one threatening phone call, it's clear Lucia is now dealing with a serial offender. And more worrying still, it seems he is known to his victims.
They all knew Amir, and they were all willing to support and provide statements.
Lucia then discovers how he gained access to their personal details.
He was a delivery driver for a brewery, so they knew him through that. Some lived in a house share with him. Some were friends of friends that were part of a WhatsApp group. There was a lady that worked on a sandwich van, a lady that worked in a corner shop. Every single person said he was really charismatic. He was such a lovely guy, and they couldn't believe that it was him that was making these horrific phone calls.
Although the evidence is piling up, Tahir continues to insist he has nothing to do with the calls.
Amir was arrested again. He again denied making any of his calls to any of the victims. He was trying to say that his mobile phone had been cloned and that it wasn't actually him making the phone calls. I didn't believe him. He sat in those interviews acting like he was the victim.
Once again, Tahir is released on bail. But the investigation continues.
He had deleted all of the phone calls that he made, so they were not showing on the call log. When Amir was arrested and his mobile phone was sent to our digital forensic department, after he was released, we got the results back from the phone inquiries. There actually were a lot more victims than we initially first thought. And I realised at that point that he'd actually been terrorising 100 women.
The phone data from the 8th of July shows that he bombarded these women with his calls.
He made 1,160 phone calls just in that day alone.
To reach that staggering number means making a call every minute for more than 19 hours.
It was persistent, it was unwanted, it was fixated, because he would ring from like midnight right through till sort of midnight the next day.
But then, while he's out on bail, a fresh report comes in.
We received a further report from another victim who was receiving withheld phone calls with the same violent phrases. We identified it was Amir that had made these phone calls due to what was being said.
But although the words and phrases match Tahir, the phone number doesn't. Lucia realises that he must have a second, secret phone police don't yet know about.
We knew that he was in breach of his bail conditions, but he was also committing further offences.
I'm arresting you under suspicion of stalking me for violence.
That you've been making numerous calls to a number of different women.
When officers attended, the second phone was located in his coat pocket. He tried to make a comment along the lines that the officers had planted it on him. Just couldn't believe it. He was still denying it. It showed that those phone calls came from his device and that he tried to hide the evidence by deleting the phone calls. And he was very cocky. I still honestly believe that he thought in his head that because he deleted the call logs, he thought that he was safe.
But Lucia has a trump card up her sleeve, thanks to some of the quick-thinking women he'd targeted.
Some of the victims used a second mobile phone or an app on their phone to record the phone calls. One of the victims had recorded about 20 recordings. In one of the calls, she says, "You're going to go to jail," but he's so brazen, he says, "I'm not going to go to jail, I'm not going anywhere near jail."
You've got nothing on me. No, I've got everything on you. I'm not going to stop calling you. I'm going to harass you.
The officer that was monitoring him due to his previous offence listened to some of those recordings and he was able to confirm that that was Amir.
I know where you live, how to get in your house.
Just thought with that much overwhelming evidence, he would have had to put his hands up and accept that, you know, it was him, but he still wasn't.
It'll be up to the court to decide the truth.
The Crown Prosecution Service authorised for him to be charged with 17 offences. These varied from stalking with fear of violence to harassment with fear of violence and also malicious communications.
And after all his denials, Tahir finally changes his tune.
He changed his plea to guilty.
Lucia had done 300 hours of overtime investigating the case, for which she received a commendation.
I do feel really proud of the work that I've done. I'm still shocked now that there were so many victims. The fact that he was lying in every single interview made me more determined to get him convicted.
She'd taken statements from dozens of women, and this is the evidence that brings him down.
He received a 13-year sentence.
She hopes the verdict will encourage others who experience harassment to come forward.
It's really important that anyone reports this to us, even if they think it is really minor, because like this investigation, it could turn out to be something a lot bigger. I'm just really pleased I got justice for the victims. We need to protect women, and him being in prison is the right place for him.
Back in Manchester, police have found the stolen motorbike. But as their suspect has started sweating and acting suspiciously, Sergeant Paul Harrison believes he's hiding something much bigger. And their attention is focused on a padlocked metal box.
I've said we will do whatever it takes to get into that box. There were power tools in the room next to us. We need to force entry into it, basically.
While his officers grab the power tools, Paul takes the bike and its rightful owner out of the house to safety.
And it was at that point I received a phone call from a colleague.
It's a phone call he'll never forget.
He said, "You aren't going to believe what we've found." I said, "What? What have you found?" He said, "In that box, we reckon there's 10 kilos of Class A. It's all marked up." It was just completely unexpected. I wasn't expecting to find Class A drugs, especially when we're only looking for items in relation to a stolen motorbike. So it's like something massive was uncovered.
Even when Paul sees the drugs for himself, he can hardly take it in.
I couldn't believe it. I've never seen anything like it. We've got this amount of Class A, and it's gone from there to being, this is massive.
The discovery of a huge stash of what appears to be Class A drugs is far more than Paul bargained for.
I was completely shocked. I looked at it and it was like something from the scene of a Pablo Escobar film.
He needs to call in officers with the expertise to handle a drugs haul of this scale.
We've alerted GMP that this has gone from low-level crime to pretty high level.
The call lands with Detective Sergeant Terry McMillan from Greater Manchester Police.
I had a call on my radio from my sergeant asking me to go to an address in Newton Heath. When we got there, I noticed some police officers wearing Lancashire uniform.
Terry wastes no time finding out what Paul has so unexpectedly discovered.
He pointed towards a metal box that was on the floor, and I saw what I would describe as being a rectangular box with what looked to be an Ecuadorian flag on it. I've never seen a quantity of drugs like that, and I've never seen anything within GMP or my experience, a package of that marking.
Terry realises this could be a major shipment from a South American cartel. He needs to take action fast to keep everyone safe.
At that time, I was a little bit concerned and asked for some more patrols to come down so we could have some uniformed staff outside the address. It was quite clear that we'd need to do a detailed search because we didn't know if there was going to be anything else recovered there.
While his officers intensify the search, Terry meets the suspect, a 28-year-old man by the name of Iman Chalouskri.
He was a large-built male of Middle Eastern appearance, and he was sweating quite a lot. He was in handcuffs, and he looked really nervous. That led me to believe perhaps he knew a little bit more about these drugs and what he was saying, and he's blaming it on someone else. But I think he knew something about them drugs.
Chalouskri is charged and brought to court the following morning.
I was happy that he was charged, not only because it's good to actually get someone off the streets who's committing crime, but equally it was important to charge him for his safeguarding as well.
Now Terry faces the mammoth task of gathering evidence.
There were 2 phones recovered at the scene. The technical team within Greater Manchester Police were able to hack into one of his phones very quickly, and we got the evidence from that we needed to present to the court. Evidence obtained from his mobile phone included videos of large amounts of cash, as well as large amounts of other controlled drugs such as cannabis.
But the key to the case was discovering exactly what those mysterious packages contained.
The drugs were submitted to the forensic services to be examined. They came back to confirm that there was approximately 10 kilos of cocaine with a purity value of 83%. The street value of that is just over £1 million. If it was cut down further, it could be more. The pressure is then on the investigation side of things to make sure we get this home at court.
And in February 2021, Iman Chalouskri was found guilty of being concerned in supplying controlled Class A drugs and jailed for 7.5 years.
I was satisfied with that result. Potentially he could have got more, but he could have got less. And it was important to get the right result.
It's taken Terry months to see this through, but the drugs might never have come to light if a small crime hadn't been investigated by dedicated neighbourhood cops.
If Lancashire hadn't taken this seriously and actually looked to come to Manchester to look for the stolen bike, the recovery of these drugs wouldn't happen.
For Sergeant Paul Harrison, it's a welcome, if surprising, outcome to an investigation that started with him.
It shows as an example that organised crime isn't just, your really high-level crimes like drug dealing. The organised crime groups can also be involved in lower level and often are. It was certainly the biggest drug seizure of my career, and it probably will remain that for the entirety of my career.
Next time on Big Little Crimes. When police in Darlington receive a call about an alleged intruder,
we would normally expect items to be stolen from the address, but on a quick search around there didn't appear to be anything out of place.
they soon realise they're dealing with something a lot more sinister.
It's really important that we get hold of him as quickly as possible and get him off the street so that he can't create any further victims.